Chapter 191, Requesting a Match. Tang Wuling and Douluo exchanged glances, and their eyes mirrored the other's current emotion, shock. An astrological attribute. They had never heard of such a thing before, but its power was evident. She, the one with the highest cultivation among them, had his soul power sealed for 5 seconds. 5 seconds was a lot of time in which they could accomplish a great deal. Not even Tang Wuling was confident that he could resist Xu Shaowen's star wheel. Can you still fight after using the star wheel at full strength? Douluo asked. Xu Shaowen shook her head and smiled bitterly. Nope. I won't be able to move once I use the star wheel, otherwise, the seal will unravel and its power will weaken. This ability is best used in coordination with the team. However, according to my clan's records, the astrological attribute will gain more abilities as my cultivation progresses. It's almost like a second set of soul rings, as if I had twin martial souls. Unfortunately, during the day I'm pretty weak and can only use my ice staff. As expected, greater strength came with greater restrictions. Xu Shaowen couldn't move when she used her star wheel, nor could she launch any other attacks. Worst of all, it could only be used at night. These restrictions were just excessive, but even so, this ability's potential in a team setting was amazing. They could turn the tides in the crucial moments the star wheel brought, enabling them to seize victory. They could do a lot in a single second. I swear on my great aunt. That's amazing. She said bitterly. A sweet smile graced Xu Shaowen's lips. Her star wheel ice staff lit up for a moment, and the golden light and icy shackles on Xu quickly disappeared. In truth, she couldn't sustain the seal any longer. If her opponent was too strong, it would be very costly to maintain such an absolute seal. If her opponent struggled against those shackles, they might be able to easily break free after a second or two. Tang Wuling gave Xu Shaowen a big thumbs up. Her first soul skill, star wheel shackles, was a great addition to the team. It was a mystical martial soul found on the mystical Douluo continent. Sure enough, nothing was impossible in this land. It's a pity that we don't have any way to change day into night. Otherwise, we might have been able to give Teacher Wu a nice surprise. She said with a trembling body. His body still felt a bit stiff. Those shackles were a fusion of astrological and ice attributes after all. It couldn't possibly have been comfortable to be restrained by them. Tang Wuling smiled. It doesn't matter. We can find Teacher Wu and spar right now. There's no way he will refuse. He exchanged looks with Xi, and a wicked glint immediately appeared in the depths of their eyes. Xi couldn't bear to be the only one on the receiving end of such a sinister ability. 1 second of absolute sealing. Maybe we'll be able to surprise Teacher Wu. In the next moment, the four sat down cross-legged in tacit understanding and began meditating. All of you want to challenge me right now? Wu Zhangkong stared at his 4 students, flabbergasted. Yes. Please give us pointers, Tang Wuling said earnestly. Let's go then. Wu Zhangkong nodded. It was already late into the night and was lights out for the dorm. Instead of the designated combat arenas, he brought them to the training fields. Regardless of whether these children were looking for trouble or had a surprise in store for him, he would gladly entertain them. A silent darkness hung over the field. Wu Zhangkong walked to the field center and gently removed his white robe. Come. Tang Wuling said, Teacher Wu, you're so powerful. Shouldn't you suppress your strength while battling us? The strongest one of us only has 2 rings, so why don't you restrict yourself and only use those 2 rings as well? Wu Zhangkong narrowed his eyes. He was an adult, and if he couldn't even guess what kind of schemes these children came up with, he wouldn't be fit to call himself a teacher. From the way these kids were speaking, he could clearly tell that they had challenged him with victory in mind. He was well acquainted with the strength of 3 of them. Xu Shaowen, however, was still a mystery. All right, Wu Zhangkong answered coldly. Tang Wuling and his teammates exchanged looks, immediately jumped backward, and got into formation. As usual, Tang Wuling was in the front with Xi beside him. Douluo was right behind him, and Xu Shaowen positioned herself behind Douluo. The 4 of them now moved as one. Soul rings rose from beneath their feet, even more resplendent in the dark of night. Tang Wuling's purple soul ring shone the brightest of all of them, as if it were a noble among commoners. Strand after strand of blue silver brass appeared in the surroundings, sheltering the comrades behind him while golden scales appeared on his right arm in a burst of light. Tang Wuling released a low growl and ferociously charged Wu Zhangkong, immediately using his first soul skill, bind. Hundreds of strands of blue silver brass whistled through the air, a display of the 1,000-year soul skill's monstrous might. A roaring tempest arose the moment Tang Wuling launched his assault. 1 strand of blue silver brass had sneakily launched Xi into the air. The moment that he arrived above Wu Zhangkong's head, he angled his body and descended upon his teacher. He didn't hold back at all and immediately initiated with Twin Dragon Storm. But it wasn't just a 2-pronged attack. A winged blade, a fireball, and an icicle flew through a small crack in the barrier of blue silver brass. They converged on Wu Zhangkong. Xi was just the opening act. They knew that one thing was certain: the longer they waited, the slimmer their chance for success would be. If they wanted to succeed, they had to immediately launch an all-out attack. Wu Zhangkong stood rooted in place, merely raising his Skyfrost sword and gently pinching its tip with his other fingers. In the face of the children's attacks, he remained still like an immovable mountain. Not even a flicker of emotion appeared on his face. It was as if there were nothing in this world that could affect him. The moment the onslaught reached Wu Zhangkong, he suddenly lashed out with his Skyfrost sword. An azure halo that seemed to possess some sort of limitless gravitational force formed around him. The halo pulled Douluo's elemental attacks inside of it, ripping control of them from her hands. It was simple and effective. 2 things Wu Zhangkong excelled at. The Twin Dragon Storm easily drilled through the elements, but Wu Zhangkong's move had done its job. The might of Twin Dragon Storm had been greatly diminished. Wu Zhangkong's eyes flashed with a violet hue, and Tang Wuling defended with his own purple demon eyes. It was futile, however, as a wave of vertigo struck him, and the bind slowly unraveled. Just how shameless is Teacher Wu? He's actually using the purple demon eyes. He might not be using the full extent of its power, but that's still so shameless. This thought faded as quickly as it had appeared, and Tang Wuling charged again with renewed vigor and an entourage of blue silver brass. Wu Zhangkong swung his Skyfrost sword. Its previous dignified aura had been replaced with blinding speed. Hundreds of sword waves shot out, accurately chilling and cutting through the slithering mass of blue silver brass. It was just a single slash, yet hundreds of sword waves appeared. Each one clashed against the strands of blue silver brass and kept them at bay. In a split second, Tang Wuling had been cut off from his teammates. However, he still continued rushing toward Wu Zhangkong. The Twin Dragon Storm finally descended from the sky, but Wu Zhangkong disappeared in a blur. After images of him appeared all around the field as he evaded with ghost shadow perplexing track. In the beginning, Xi could follow Wu Zhangkong's movements and adjust his assault accordingly, but soon his teacher's movements proved too fast for him to keep up with. By the time he touched the ground with his Twin Dragon Storm, his aim had been thrown off. His attack met nothing but air. A wave of frost flew out and Xi reflexively tried to defend against it with his light dragon dagger. His strength was already exhausted, however, and he was immediately sent flying. Chapter 191.1 Victory. At that moment, Tang Wuling arrived before Wu Zhangkong so that 2 were facing each other. Choosing not to fall back, Tang Wuling attacked Wu Zhangkong with his radiant golden dragon claw. Even if Wu Zhangkong had suppressed his cultivation to their level, he didn't have a single opening or weakness. Yet, in this single battle, he made a stunning choice. Icy mist exuded from him as sword waves burst forth and quickly weaved together to form a net, forming a protective barrier. And at that moment, a golden 6-pointed star appeared beneath Wu Zhangkong's feet while shackles of ice shot out of it and latched onto his body. A metallic screech resounded. Tang Wuling's golden dragon claw had seized the sword wave net and crushed it. With the improvements in his cultivation and the aid of the mysterious heaven method, Tang Wuling could maintain his golden dragon claw for a full 20 seconds. But the results were far from his expectations. Though the star wheel shackles had activated at just the right moment, but Wu Zhangkong's stalwart defense exceeded their calculations. It had deflected the shackles within a split second, and while Tang Wuling had been able to crush the net, he had received backlash as well. He might have the sword wave sent a tremble down his spine and forced him to step back. This single step back had broken his offensive stance. Wu Zhangkong's eyes lit up and the ice shackles on his body splintered before falling to the ground. Despite the fact that he had suppressed his cultivation to 2 rings, his 2 rings and theirs were as different as the heavens and the earth due to his application of compressed soul power. The star wheel shackles could only last 2 seconds before his overwhelming strength. The frost stars had fended off Tang Wuling for 2 seconds, and now that he was freed, Wu Zhangkong pointed his sword at him. But at that instant, Wu Zhangkong saw Tang Wuling smile. He instantly had a bad premonition and unleashed another frost star net without hesitation. However, he was too late. A palm gently landed on his back and an explosive tempest of fire and ice bombarded him. A layer of protective frost instantly coated his body, but it was not enough to prevent him from staggering forward from the blast. He released his full might, sending the 4 children flying. His icy expression cracked, revealing an unsightly face. Woohoo! Xu Shaowen was the first to celebrate. That was right. They won. In the last minute, Wu Zhangkong had clearly revealed a strength far beyond 2 rings in order to protect himself. He withdrew his Skyfrost sword. Considering his status, it was impossible for him to admit his defeat, so instead he asked indifferently, "Whose plan was this?" Tang Wulian snickered. "Teacher, it's mine." Wu Zhangkong nodded. "Very good. We'll continue again tomorrow, and this time, I'll use 3 rings. Of course, this also means I'll be using my 3 corresponding soul skills." He turned around and left after dropping this bomb, his white robe fluttering in the wind and his aura as glacial as ever. The excited 4 children froze with shock and disbelief written all over their faces. 3 rings? 3 rings is vastly different from 2 rings. It's the same as comparing the 100 refinements to the 1,000 refinements. They had thought that their victory would spare them tomorrow's training or cause Wu Zhangkong to alter their training program. What they had not predicted was that not only would their dreams be crushed, they had summoned forth a nightmare instead. Boss, this wasn't part of the plan. She was on the verge of tears. In their strategy, she was cannon fodder used to distract Wu Zhangkong. In fact, they had even told him directly that he would be cannon fodder. Wu Zhangkong definitely wouldn't have believed that she was their main assault force. However, the Twin Dragon Storm possessed a terrifying power against those of the same rank, forcing Wu Zhangkong to divert a part of his attention to dealing with him. Tang Wulian had taken many things into consideration when he drafted up their battle plan. He had known that Wu Zhangkong would be skeptical if they suddenly challenged him during the night. With Wu Zhangkong's thorough understanding of the 3 strengths, his suspicions would naturally fall onto Xu Shaoan. The ingenuity of Tang Wulian's plan lay in misleading Wu Zhangkong. With Wu Zhangkong's character, he would naturally assume that the entire team was set up so that Tang Wulian's Golden Dragon Claw would make the final strike. The truth was, they really had set up their formation like that. From Tang Wulian's very first attack to Shishi's descent from the sky and Gu Yue's coordinated assault, everything had been building up to that one claw, but their plans had been exposed too quickly. Tang Wulian's claw was uncovered, and his blue silver grass was repelled by frost scars. Even so, the grass had done its job. All it had to do was conceal the actions of Xu Shaoan and Gu Yue at the rear. Gu Yue had begun preparing her fire and ice explosion barrage the moment she unleashed her first wave of elemental attacks. Her preparations had only been able to finish without interruption thanks to the masking effect of the 1,000-year bind. In the final moment of the battle, Wu Zhangkong had relaxed after freeing himself from the Star Wheel's restraints even though Tang Wulian had broken through his defense. Everything had gone according to his predictions of the children's plans, and sure enough, they had figured a way to disturb him. He had assumed that they had exhausted all of their means, and the minute he relaxed his guard, Tang Wulian's dragon claw would shoot out. It would have been the decisive strike. As Wu Zhangkong thought that, the explosion of fire and ice blasted him in the back. Not only had he suppressed his soul power down to their rank, he had also restrained his spiritual power, diminishing his awareness substantially. This was the reason why he hadn't noticed the true plan devised by these children. If he hadn't released his full strength at that last moment, there was no doubt that he would have suffered some injuries. The children's plan had been perfect. Not only had they coordinated their abilities impressively, they had even exploited the fundamental character flaw of their opponent. After realizing how detailed their plan had been, Wu Zhangkong needed to know who had devised it. The fact that such a brilliant plan had been hatched by a 10-year-old child meant the child possessed indescribable potential. Unseen by the children, a smile tapped at his lips as he left. As a teacher, how could he be dissatisfied with such amazing students? Xu Shaoan's Star Wheel shackles had also left a deep impression on him. It had completely sealed his soul power for an instant. A truly terrifying ability. It seems they'll be giving the academy an nice surprise at the Spicy Alliance tournament. The children sullenly returned to their dormitory and into their beds. Dreading the next day, the Star Wheel shackles couldn't possibly have much effect on a 3-ringed Wu Zhangkong. What were they to do? All they could do now was play by the ear. Their intense lives of studying and cultivating resumed once more. Xu Shaoan quickly found her place in the team. Not only was she clever and working well with the team, she was also bright and adorable, the exact opposite of Gu Yue. Due to her pitiful strength during the day, she always worked hard to improve herself. What left Tang Wulian helpless, however, was how talented she was. Her soul power had increased to rank 18 in just 1 month, while he still struggled to reach rank 17. Even with the mysterious heaven method, his cultivation speed was extremely slow. Tomorrow we're going to Spicy City, Wu Zhangkong announced. Tang Wulian, stay behind after class. We're going to Spicy City, the largest city on the East Coast. The 4 students looked at each other in confusion. She was the first to give in to his curiosity. Are we going there to watch the Spicy Alliance tournament? Teacher Wu? Wu Zhangkong looked at him. You're participating, not watching. Participating? Wu Zhangkong waved them out, forcing Xi, Gu Yue, and Xu Shaoan to leave in a daze. Tang Wulian stood up, waiting for Wu Zhangkong to speak. The academy told me that the Blacksmiths Association wants you to participate in the Blacksmiths competition at the Spicy Alliance tournament. Is that true? Tang Wulian nodded. Wu Zhangkong said, I did some research. It shouldn't conflict with any of our class's matches, so it should be fine. Oh. Tang Wulian acknowledged. Teacher Wu, what competition are we participating in? Wu Zhangkong said, the 3-man team event in the juvenile division. The Spicy Alliance tournament is very large and will have countless events. Obviously there will be events for Soul Masters, but they're divided into individual and team competitions. Team competitions are either groups of 3, 5, or 7. You should pay close attention to the 7-man matches. You, Xi, and Gu Yue will form a group and participate in the 3-man team competition with Xu Shaoan as a substitute. As the team captain, you need to think about how you will obtain good results in the team competition, as well as the blacksmiths competition. Your goal is to become the champions. Chapter 192, for the money. Champion. But we're still 11. Xi told me that we would have to compete against people who are 10 to 15 years old. That's a bit. Wu Zhangkong coldly said, age does not determine one's strength. You just need to try your best. The outcome is not the most important thing. Understood? Yes, Tang Wulian answered. You can leave now. Go prepare for tomorrow's trip to Spicy City. All of the participants from East City will be leaving together, so you don't have to worry about meeting up with your colleagues from the Blacksmiths Association. Yes. For the past month, Tang Wulian had been entirely focused on preparing for the blacksmiths competition. Although he could not yet forge a first-grade medal, his success rate for second-grade medals had already risen to more than 80%. Even among other 4th-ranked blacksmiths, such a success rate was rarely seen. As Mu Chen had said, Tang Wulian's inability to forge a first-grade medal was not due to a lack of understanding, but a deficiency of soul power. Soul power was the foundation of soul masters, and it was also crucial to blacksmiths. The higher one's soul power, the higher the chances of imbuing spirit into metal during forging. Even if he was a divine genius in the realm of blacksmithing, his status as a 1-ring soul master would only hinder his advancement in the craft. According to Mu Chen's guess, Tang Wulian would immediately be able to forge first-grade medals once he possessed 2 rings. His training menu under Mu Chen did not change. It was still focused on solidifying his foundation in preparation for the future. After all, he was still young and did not need to take risks in order to achieve a first-grade 1,000 refined creation. What Tang Wulian had not expected, however, was that they would be one of the teams representing East Sea Academy, and they would be competing in the junior division for the Soul Master team battles. No less. Although he was shocked, he was also eager for combat. Locked within an abyss of suffering for the past month, Tang Wulian had not visited the Spirit Ascension platform even once. Instead, he faced Wu Zhangkong in battle every day. He would rather face a 10,000-year soul beast than fight Wu Zhangkong. After all, he had personally witnessed his teacher slaughter a 10,000-year soul beast as if it were just a walk in the park. The only fruit that was born from that night's victory was an escalation in the intensity of their training. Even while combining their forces and utilizing the dirtiest of schemes, they could not hold a candle to a 3-ringed Wu Zhangkong. As the team captain, Tang Wulian took the brunt of Wu Zhangkong's attacks, each battle leaving him covered in bruises and cuts. Yet, it was precisely because of such harsh circumstances that their coordination and soul power improved so quickly. Tang Wulian could sense that he was but one step away from reaching rank 17 now. However, his intense cultivation schedule conflicted with his forging practice, leading him to be unable to meet his task quotas. Naturally, his income tanked. Whenever Tang Wulian thought of the Spicy Alliance tournament, his pulse would pound incessantly and his eyes reddened until they were bloodshot at the thought of the award money that would solve quite a few of his current problems. Now that he was a 4th-ranked blacksmith, his potential income skyrocketed and he had been able to clear his debt to Wu Zhangkong. His wallet wept at its empty pockets. Teacher Wu. Before walking through the door, Tang Wulian suddenly spun around. Is there an award for participating in the tournament? Wu Zhangkong stared at him. If the team performs well, there will be one. Although there is a monetary award given to the top 32, the sum only becomes significant once you reach the top 16. As for receiving an endowment from the academy, all of you are already draining the academy's resources dry. It's especially you. Your food expenses are nearly enough to feed the entire intermediate division. Tell me, do you still want a reward? Tang Wuling dared not speak out. Instead, he stuck his tongue out like a little rascal. But was the truth not spoken? He knew that he was just shoveling in that high-class, nutritious food that aided in his cultivation, seemingly to no end. Obviously, the expenses for such nourishment were high. With all that healthy food, his cultivation was progressing at a magnified rate, even to the point where preparing to break through the second seal seemed more feasible than ever. The fact that he could even eat such delicious food often brought him joy. Teacher Wu, can I participate in the individual competition then? Maybe I'll be able to enter the top 30. Tang Wuling probed. He could not afford to let a single lucrative opportunity slip away. His attitude toward money had changed after all the pain and suffering he went through just to be able to purchase his first spirit soul. If he had more money back then he would not have been forced to settle for a trash spirit soul. Since then, Tang Wuling vowed to rake in the money in the future, to the extent where he would never have to worry about making ends meet. If Niu Chen ever discovered his disciples' true reason for forging, he would have hopped up and down from rage. If you're not worried about being tired, then you can go ahead, Wu Zhangkong answered with an apathetic edge. Tang Wuling said, as long as the schedules don't in conflict, I'm confident I won't get tired. I'll have to inconvenience you to help me sign up then. At the very least, the boy had some faith in his strength. Although he did not wield two rings as of yet, he did hold a 1,000-year soul ring. His 1,000-year blue silver brass was a major source of confidence for him. When he returned to the dormitory, Tang Wuling found his friends already at the door waiting for him. How was it? What's the situation? Faced with their inquiries, Tang Wuling quickly briefed them on his conversation with Wu Zhangkong. I'll join the individual competition too, Gu Yue said earnestly. Shishi loftily said, me too. Xu Shaoan shook her head. I think I'll pass. The competition isn't held at night, and even if it was, I lack the confidence. Participating as a substitute in the team competition is enough for me. A mischievous smile appeared on Shishi's lips. Say, if we really do become the champions, do you think Shrek Academy will come scout us? Maybe they'll invite us to join them. The corner of Xu Shaoan's mouth twitched ever so slightly. Quit dreaming. Even if we do in first place, it's still just an unremarkable three-man competition at the Sky Sea Alliance tournament. Use your common sense and think about what sort of status they have. I heard that there have never been more than 100 students part of the inner court of Shrek Academy at a time, and each and every one of them is a monster. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call it a pond of dragons and a den of tigers. I also heard that even the chairman of the Federation personally pays a visit to Shrek Academy's president twice a year. If Shrek Academy hadn't maintained a neutral stance during the three continents feuds, do you think the Douluo continent and the Heaven Dou continent would still exist? In shock, Tang Wuling asked, is Shrek Academy really that great? With utmost seriousness, Xu Shaoan said, that's right. My family told me that it's a place completely separate from the world of us normal people. Shrek Academy recruits students once every 3 years, and each time there are less than 1,000 people qualified to apply. It would be a small miracle if more than 100 people are accepted at a time. In fact, sometimes only 20 or 30 people are accepted, but of those students, only 1 in 10 can enter the inner court. It's quite obvious just how high their standards are. Shrek Academy's unfathomable quality is not something we have the privilege of understanding. Tang Wuling and Shishi both exchanged a look. Although it was impossible for them to know what Shrek Academy was like, there was bound to be someone who did. Teacher Wu. Don't the rumors say that Teacher Wu came from Shrek Academy? If the admittance standards for Shrek Academy are that high, then just how amazing is Teacher Wu? Tang Wuling said, even so, this is a great opportunity for us. Don't think too much about getting a high rank everyone. Just do your best and gain some good combat experience. As long as we don't give up, we'll definitely have a shot at entering Shrek Academy one day. Chapter 193, setting off for the tournament. Let's do our best, guys. Tang Wuling was the first to reach out a hand. Gu Yue placed her hand on top of his, before quickly grabbing Xu Shaoan's hand so that it rested on hers. Although he was an agility type soul master, Shishi's reaction lagged behind the rest and he was the last to join in. He glared daggers at Gu Yue. Just how much do you loathe me? Gu Yue thought it over for a moment, then flashed a smile. About as much as one would blow the housefly. You. Night crept by without a peep. Once the rays of the sun pierced through the horizon, Wu Zhangkong and the 4 students departed from the academy. Their destination, East Sea Square located at the city center. Tang Wuling and the others wore East Sea Academy's uniform. This time, Director Long Henshu joined the children and Wu Zhangkong. There was another team representing the academy apart from Tang Wuling's group, though they were from the advanced division. The latter team would be participating in the 15 to 20 youth division. Tang Wuling spotted a couple of familiar faces among the crowd. The first was Xu Shaoan's older brother, Xu Xiaoyu. To his surprise, the other one was the beautiful senior sister he met during his first days at East Sea Academy, Wu Yushin. It was clear that Wu Yushin hadn't spared him a thought. Instead, her gaze was glued on the face of a man with fluttering white robes, never letting him out of her sight. Her eyes were practically in the shape of hearts. Shaoan, let me know if they try to bully you. Walking past the 4 students of Class 0, Xu Xiaoyu showcased a display of force. Xu Shaoan rolled her eyes at him. Just worry about yourself. At least make it through the preliminaries this time. At such a statement, Xu Xiaoyu's expression stiffened. Of course. Everyone on our team has at least 3 rings this time. We'll definitely achieve a good result. They were participating in the team competitions as well. This was not just any team event. It was the most illustrious one. The 7-man team competition. The corner of Xu Shaoan's mouth twitched. From the conversation between the 2 siblings, Tang Wuling could infer at least that East Sea Academy held some hope of glory at the tournament. In fact, their chances of attaining victory were pretty high, as East Sea City was ranked number 2 among all the cities in the East Coast. Achieving glory and maintaining their status was a crucial goal and a touchy subject. In truth, Tang Wuling's guess hit the nail right on the head. While East Sea Academy was East Sea City's only intermediate Soul Master Academy, its students were not particularly outstanding. The Sky Sea Alliance tournament was so large that it required not just the 5 first-class cities on the East Coast to host it, but had even summoned the aid of some 2nd and 3rd-class cities. East Sea City had produced dismal results for a first-class city in the previous tournaments. Both the academy and the city's government lost much face. It was no wonder that Long Henshu's proposal to create a Class 0 for their newly found geniuses was approved so quickly. If things continued on like this, then East Sea City's prestige would definitely suffer. The city's bustling economy might also be adversely affected, plummeting the markets. The academy was placing their bets on a group of 10-year-old children this time, hoping that they would showcase the city's potential at the Sky Sea Alliance tournament while also gaining the support of the city's government. After all, they were only 10 years old. Their future was limitless. Crowds of people and luxurious soul buses assembled at East Sea Square to set off together. Hey, why are you so late? Muzai jogged over to Tang Wuling and grabbed him by the ear. What are you doing? Before Tang Wuling could speak up, Gu Yue swatted away Muzai's hand and stood protectively in front of him. Stunned, Muzai stared at Gu Yue in a daze before bursting out in laughter. Not bad. Tang Wuling, you've already become a deviant at such a young age. Who is your little girlfriend? No. Senior disciple sister, don't say such nonsense. Muzai's voice had been particularly loud, attracting the attention of those around them like bees to honey. With the proverbial spotlight shining on him, Tang Wuling flushed as red as a tomato in embarrassment. His handsome looks, coupled with his rosy red, abashed face tempted Muzai to pinch his cheeks. Wow, you're bringing so many people with you. Ignoring Gu Yue, Muzai asked Tang Wuling. Tang Wuling said, we're participating in the Junior Division's Soul Masters team competition. The Soul Masters team competition? You guys? She did not try to hide her disdain at all. What about us? She said indignantly. Muzai sneered. It's nothing much, just that we're also entering the Junior Division of the Soul Masters team competition. Do you guys still think you have a chance? As she spoke, 3 soul rings appeared from beneath her feet. Yellow, purple. She was a 3-ring soul elder. Muzai was currently a 5th year in her 2nd semester, so she was 4 years older than Tang Wuling. At 14 years old, she just barely qualified for that division's age limit. Muzai said, we'll also be entering as a 3-man team. Our goal is the top 8. There are currently 36 East Coast cities competing in this tournament with over 100 participants, and the first 2 rounds are knockout competitions. Can you guys even pass the first round? At their age, every single year signified a great gap in strength. Tang Wuling went silent. Even though they had beat Xu Xiaoyu once before, they had to admit it was due to Xu Xiaoyu's carelessness and their strength in numbers. Yet in this coming tournament, they would be facing the most powerful of their peers. There would even be those that were older than them. Against such formidable opponents, just what kind of hopes did they have? All right, don't be discouraged. I'll treat you guys to a meal after the first round. Muzai rubbed Wu Lin's head then whispered into his ear. You might not have a chance at the Soul Masters tournament, but you can definitely rank high in the Blacksmith 1. I'll be cheering for you when the time comes. Go become the champion. Since the time Tang Wu Lin had agreed to give up first place for her, the thorns in their relationship had blunted. Tang Wu Lin nodded helplessly. She really knew how to surprise people. The square was in chaos as the representatives of every association participating in the tournament organized themselves. There were even representatives from other academies. The Sky Sea Alliance tournament had numerous events, including mecha and battle armor competitions. Like how East Sea City held an embarrassing position in the alliance, the Sky Sea Alliance were ashamed of their rank in comparison to the rest of the continent. Although their economic status was unrivaled, whether it were battle armor masters, mecha pilots, mecha technology, or the quantity and quality of soul masters, they ranked near the bottom in all of these elements. The cities that dominated these categories were the Sun Moon City and Heaven Dou City. As for Shrek City, it could neither be evaluated by the Federation properly nor be put on the same scale as the others. Basically, Shrek City exceeded their comprehension. The teachers and students of East Sea Academy, board your bus now. Hearing this, the teachers began leading the students onto the sixth bus. Without a single break in her stride, Dou Yue sauntered forward and kicked Shishi out of the way, plopping down on the seat beside Tang Wu Lin. Shishi could only settle for the next best thing and sat next to Xu Xiaoan. Unfortunately for him, however, Xu Xiaoyu picked him up and stole the seat beside his sister. Shishi was annoyed, but he could do nothing against the much stronger Xu Xiaoyu. He resigned himself to sit beside Wu Zhangkong. After descending into his seat, he felt countless eyes stabbing his body as the surrounding women glared as though they wanted to rip him to shreds. I don't want to sit here either. Shishi immediately stood up to find another seat. Don't stand up if you know what's good for you. Wu Zhangkong's cold voice sounded. Shishi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Is this counted as provoking whoever I meet? The Xu siblings sat right behind Tang Wu Lin and Gu Yue. As he stared at Gu Yue, a scowl materialized on Xu Xiaoyu's face. After facing defeat at the hands of Gu Yue, indignation and depression had filled his heart. As time progressed though, Gu Yue appearing in his dreams more and more frequently. Every once in a while, Gu Yue's face would pop up in his conscious mind. She is so young, yet possesses such power and an amazing martial soul. Just how formidable will she be once she matures? This girl piqued his curiosity, as well as some of his other sentiments. Xu Xiaoyu was easily considered an outstanding elite in the advanced division, but that was just within the walls of the weak East Sea Academy. He would be entering an advanced academy in a year, walking on his chosen path in life. Despite aspiring to be a battle armor master, he struggled with the fact that this was an exceedingly difficult occupation. In particular, the process of making battle armor required more than just money. Not only would he have to pour his all into cultivation, he would also need to divert his time and energy into battle armor research. He was already 17 years old, though his potential was not lacking. It was unknown whether he had it in him to realize such a goal. Chapter 194, Sleeping to rank 17. If he could not obtain a suit of battle armor for himself, then he would just have to settle with becoming a mecha pilot. There was a reason battle armor masters were recognized as the strongest. The path to becoming one was difficult and few ever succeeded. The chances of failing were simply astronomical. In order to craft a battle armor successfully, one needed to accomplish multiple steps: refine rare metals, forge them, create a design, craft it, and then maintain the final product. The troubles of obtaining and owning battle armor were tenfold to that of mechas. To obtain a suitable mecha, one only needed to hire a capable mecha designer and craftsman. But regarding battle armor, this process was much more convoluted. One needed to be personally involved in the creation of one's battle armor. This was to determine the most suitable path such that the armor becomes an extension of one's body. Such a feat was not something just anyone could accomplish. It was a taxing road. Hardly any battle armor masters could create a complete set of battle armor even after 10 whole years of painstaking work. Even if they did somehow finish a set by then, they might find that their growth during the years of forging rendered their final product obsolete. Once again, one would have to start anew. The act of creating battle armor truly was a form of torment. If too much time was spent on developing the battle armor, then one's cultivation may fall behind. When that happens, they would become even weaker than a mecha pilot. However, mechas were also tremendously powerful and their gigantic bulk gave them many options. For these reasons, Xu Xiaoyu decided on specializing in mecha control. He would walk down the path of becoming a mecha pilot when he entered an advanced academy. I might not have much hope of becoming a battle armor master, but I wonder if she can pull it off. She already has 2 rings at 10 years old and will definitely hit 3 rings by the time she turns 15. I can't even compare to her in terms of potential. He did not feel any jealousy toward Gu Yue. In fact, he was confused by his own turbulent sentiments. Tang Wu Lin leaned against the window, resting with his eyes shut as he attempted to calm his muddled heart. Mu's eyes words still lingered within his mind. He had witnessed her strength before when she wielded only 2 rings, but now, she already possessed 3. Yet with her strength, she only aimed for the top 8 position. They're so strong, but what about class 0? I'm the sole 1 ringed contender among our main force. Although our teamwork is great and I'm confident in my strength, there is still a significant difference in cultivation between our teams. That's a gap we can't bridge quickly enough. The ones who rank the best will receive a reward. Like Tang Wu Lin, Gu Yue was also resting quietly with her eyes closed. A tense atmosphere permeated the bus as some occupants sent hushed whispers to one another. Other more courageous students chatted loudly. Like this, the bus slowly shrank into the distance, leaving the square behind and gradually speeding out of East Sea City. Those in the bus showed glimmers of optimism as soon as they left the city bounds, entering the highway and accelerating onward. The Soul Highway utilized a combination of maglev and soul technology, allowing the bus to safely maintain high speeds up to half of soul trains. For shorter distances, the bus was more suitable than the train. As Tang Wu Lin's eyes slowly opened, he took the time to observe the breathtaking landscape flitting by. On the east was the ocean. Since the highway was built right on the shore, the azure sea stretched out infinitely beside him, unburdening his heart and relaxing his spirit. Tang Wu Lin could not help but recall the times he visited the beach with Naya to enjoy the scenery together. Back then, he had pulled her by the hand to gaze at the sea, watch the sunrise, and collect seashells. If luck smiled down on them, they would also catch some large crabs to bake and eat. Naya. Tang Wu Lin softly called out, Wu Lin, you. Gu Yue turned to him in surprise. Turning toward her voice, he was met with her astonished expression. He gave a half-hearted smile and shook his head. I'm fine. Just thinking about my little sister. I don't know how she's doing right now or whether she's happy. I bet if she knew I'd become a soul master, she would be really happy for me. Gu Yue nodded, a slight smile tugging at her lips. Of course she would. Would you like some water? She brought out a bottle from her backpack. Huh. Okay. Thank you. Tang Wu Lin twisted open the bottle's cap and took a few gulps of water. The water was pure and tepid, relieving both his throat and heart. After Gu Yue retrieved the bottle from him, she took a few drinks herself, paying no mind that he had just drunk from it. Tang Wu Lin stared at her, flabbergasted. The light shining through the window met with her cheek, giving the illusion of sparkling purity. She's actually so pretty. Gu Yue tilted her head and beamed an oblivious smile at him. What's with you? Tang Wu Lin pulled the curtains quickly over the window, shrouding the entire space with shade. It's too bright right now. That's bad for your eyes. Gu Yue placed the bottle back into his hands, then leaned her head against his shoulder. I'm sleepy. Let me lean on you, okay? Tang Wu Lin did not know what to do. You're already leaning on me. How am I supposed to reject you? It seemed she really was sleepy, for her breathing soon steadied as a relaxed smile appeared on her lips. It was as if to her, leaning on him was particularly comforting. After sucking it up as Gu Yue's personal pillow, Tang Wu Lin started to feel the lull of slumber. Even though he had already shut the curtains, the warmth and coziness did not dissipate. Unwittingly, he closed his eyes. Immediately, his fatigue from constantly cultivating washed away, totaling about 4 hours in travel time. The trek from East Sea City to Sky Sea City was a prolonged one. Tang Wu Lin slept through the whole trip and would have likely continued sleeping once they arrived had Shishi not called for him. You two sure are enjoying sleeping, huh? You've slept the whole trip. Shishi slyly shut his gaze from Tang Wu Lin to the waking Gu Yue. Gu Yue stood up to stretch her body before turning back to pinch Tang Wu Lin's shoulder. Is it numb? Tang Wu Lin shook his head. It's fine. That was a really nice nap. I don't think I've ever slept that well in my whole life. Circulating some soul power within his body, he noticed that it seemed to have sped up while flowing more smoothly than ever. This change signified a breakthrough. He had finally broken through to rank 17. A strange expression stretched across his face. He had been struggling to break through the bottleneck to rank 17 these past few days, but never had he expected to wake up in success. While his foundation was mediocre, he had progressed from rank 11 to rank 17 in the past year. Such speed was simply astonishing. As if only natural, Gu Yue chose to lead them to exit while Tang Wu Lin and Shishi trailed behind her. For no apparent reason, warmth filled his heart as he took in her figure. Partner. Little sister. He did not know why, but Gu Yue's kindness reminded him of Naya. Sky City and East Sea were similar in that they both were situated on the coast, boasting a beautiful landscape and the continent's largest harbors and docks. The Federation's navy was stationed right outside of Sky City, the silhouette of a gigantic cruiser anchored out at sea and to the eyes of some. Because of the great military forces stationed there, Sky City was considered the top-ranked city on the east coast. The area was of utmost strategic importance comparable to major cities inland. Ordinary people would enter military service once they turned 18, and for those within Spicy Alliance's domain, Sky City's navy was the first pick. Tang Wuling still had many years before he turned 18. As a soulmaster, he had some level of influence over his military service. This, of course, did not take into account his status as a fourth-rank blacksmith. Fourth-rank blacksmiths were considered members of the elite, enjoying a lofty position. For now, Tang Wuling could not see much of a difference between Sky City and East City. As they approached the city's core, skyscrapers piercing the clouds came into view, passed by the magnificent harbor. Several types of advanced equipment and facilities lined the harbor, all of which Tang Wuling struggled to name. The harbor smelled of trade. Chapter 195, Blacksmiths. Sky City was situated in an area surrounded by much more mountains than East City, and many buildings were built into the slopes, adding to their high-low appearance. Some skyscrapers even seemed to pierce right through the clouds. The official delegation from East City had already been in contact with the representatives from Sky City. The 4 students of Class 0 were the youngest amongst the competitors from East City and naturally weren't too attentive to their surroundings. Simply following the group, they were led to a luxurious hotel that was rather special. Half of it was within the ocean, and each room had a breathtaking view that truly emphasized to all the guests that they were by the ocean. Tang Wuling and Shi shared a room, while Gu Yue and Xu Xiaoan were placed in another room. Tomorrow was the opening ceremony of the tournament, and lots to decide the matches would be drawn. Wei Zhangkong had given the bare minimum explanation, which had lacked any sort of warnings or advice. The doorbell rang. Tang Wuling quickly opened the door, revealing the charming Muzai. Come with me. Muzai grabbed his hand and dragged him out. Tang Wuling just barely managed to look back and shout, Shi, I'm going out with my senior disciple sister first. I'll be back later. Go, just go already. Shi was already laying on his bed resting with his eyes closed. He hadn't had a moment of reprieve from Wu Zhangkong's glacial aura and the glares of the surrounding women during the entire trip whilst sitting next to his teacher. Now that he was free from that tormenting environment, fatigue drained his energy while sleep overwhelmed his consciousness. Senior disciple sister, slow down. Just what are we doing? Tang Wuling pleaded. We have a meeting. Muzai's short reply left no room for debate. She turned a corner and, seeing that there weren't many people around, Muzai quickly pinched Tang Wuling's delicate cheeks. Senior disciple sister. Tang Wuling waved his arms in protest. Pinching you means that I respect you. Your cheeks are nice to pinch. Okay, we're here. Muzai pushed Tang Wuling into a room as she spoke. Over a dozen people were present in the room, each wearing the familiar badge of a blacksmith. The leader of the delegation from the Blacksmiths Association was someone Tang Wuling knew, Ken Yue. Aside from Ken Yue, the others were unfamiliar faces that ranged from their late teens to their early 20s. Ken Yue's stern expression transformed into a beaming smile the moment Tang Wuling and Muzai walked in. You're here, Wuling. Come, I'll introduce you to the other outstanding blacksmiths of your generation. There were a couple people that stood out to Tang Wuling, a youth around 18 years old named Zheng Tianlin, and a young man a little over 20 named Tang Wanhao. They both had their own peculiarities. Zheng Tianlin had a pair of extraordinarily long arms that reached just past his knees and wore a third-rank blacksmith badge, while Tang Wanhao wore a fourth-rank badge. They were the most skilled individuals in the room after Ken Yue. Although Muzai was extremely talented, she was still only a second-rank blacksmith. Mu Chen's strict attitude toward her had meant that he refused to pass her as a third-rank blacksmith until her 1,000 refinements stabilized. Now that everyone is present, I'll begin. I believe you're all aware that although East City hasn't achieved any exemplary results in the Spicy Alliance tournaments of late, our East Blacksmiths Association is an exception to that. We managed to attain third place in the junior division, and first in the youth division last year. Wanhao, do your best this time to bring us glory in the adult division. Tang Wanhao had an average appearance and a sturdy body. A calm light twinkled in his eyes as he said, yes, teacher. It was only then that Tang Wuling realized Tang Wanhao was Ken Yue's direct disciple. A satisfied smile formed on Ken Yue's lips. You will definitely receive excellent results as long as you perform your usual best. Ken Yue then turned to Zheng Tianlin. Tianlin, you've made a lot of progress in these last 2 years and have stabilized your foundation. If you're able to forge at your personal best, then you should do well too. I hope you'll break through soon and reach fourth rank. Yes, Master Ken. Zheng Tianlin nodded, but not only was his attitude disrespectful, it was filled with disdain and arrogance. Finally, Ken Yue turned to Tang Wuling and Muzai. Last of all are the two of you. If you were to ask me who I was most confident in with regards to the adult, youth, and juvenile division, I would definitely have said it would be you two brats. I don't think I need to give either of you any advice. Just perform as you always do and you'll surely bring back the title of champion. I'll be waiting to celebrate. Everyone in the room eyed the two at these words. They could accept it if it had only been directed to Muzai, but Tang Wuling was an unknown face. The matter of Tang Wuling becoming President Mu Chen's disciple had been kept confidential, and the only ones who knew this were Mu Chen himself, Ken Yue, and Muzai. It was for this reason that none of the other blacksmiths recognized him. Tang Wanhao was shocked that his teacher had praised this newcomer. He glanced at Tang Wuling and gave him a nod of acknowledgement. Tang Wuling hastily reciprocated. Zheng Tianlin smiled. Junior sister Muzai is quickly approaching third rank, so the junior division should be no problem for her. The champion's prize is almost already hers. Muzai would have accepted such praise before having met Tang Wuling, since she truly was one of the greatest of her generation. Now, however, a little monster stood beside her. How could she accept such praise knowing full well the gap between her and Tang Wuling? He was already a fourth-rank blacksmith despite being 4 years younger than her. Don't say such nonsense. There's no way I can become the champion, Muzai quickly said. Zheng Tianlin thought she was being modest and laughed. How could you not? Being able to reach the second rank is already amazing for your age, not to mention approaching third rank. He hadn't even thought of acknowledging Tang Wuling since the beginning. Although Tang Wuling was taller than his peers, at most, he could only be considered a 13-year-old child. Apart from Tang Wanhao, who noted Ken Yue's expectant gaze towards Tang Wuling, everyone else held the same assumptions as Zheng Tianlin. They thought Tang Wuling was merely present to create a contrast for Muzai's brilliance. Tang Wuling didn't mind this assessment at all. In fact, he wasn't concerned at all. Mang Tian had repeatedly warned him to stay low-key within the Blacksmiths Association, as it was only then would he be able to progress further. He trusted Mang Tian's advice, and Mu Chen's lectures had only served to further reinforce this idea. It was for this reason that he truly intended to give Muzai the championship in this competition. He would be rewarded with both the second and first place prizes anyway. What reason did he have to decline? Ken Yue didn't try to allay their assumptions, since his primary goal was Tang Wuling's safety. Mu Chen had explained to Tang Wuling before their departure that if it wasn't for his insane improvement speed and connection with the world of blacksmiths, Mu Chen would not have let him compete. What Tang Wuling wasn't aware of was that there was a limited number of spots for participating in high-level competitions, and having reached fourth rank, Tang Wuling qualified for them. Ken Yue said, now I'll explain how the competition will be run this time. Let's start with the junior division. You can leave after hearing the information relevant to you. He still prioritized Tang Wuling in the end. Of course, in the eyes of the other blacksmiths, it was simply Ken Yue showing consideration for Muzai. The three divisions aren't that different. It's just that the junior division focuses on blacksmithing fundamentals. The first round disqualifies contestants who cannot 100 refine. No one knows what metal you will be asked to forge. The top 64 participants from the first round will then compete in the second round, where you freely display your ability with the same metal from before. You will be awarded points based on the grade of the final product. As for the third round, you will be shaping the metal you forged in the second round. That's it. There are only 3 rounds. To secure a good position, however, you will need to surprise everyone. When that time comes, just do your best and you should be fine. The association will grant you an additional award if you place within the top 8, and an amazing award if it's the top 3. You'll even have the opportunity to participate in other blacksmithing competitions. I hope you'll keep this in mind and do your best, because the spots for other competitions isn't up to me. If you place in the top 3, the medal awarded will be your ticket into the upper levels of the world of blacksmithing. Understand? Chapter 196. Struggle to the end. Yes. Tang Wuling, Muzai and a few other youngsters said respectfully. In the sea of green that was this group of blacksmiths, Muzai stood out brightly as a speck of red, the only woman among them. After listening to Ken Yue's warnings, Tang Wuling and Muzai set off. Good luck, junior disciple brother. Muzai rubbed Tang Wulin's head and pinched his cheeks before releasing him. Helpless to the pinching, Tang Wulin began to miss her frigid disposition. At least back then, his cheeks were spared. He could feel the shift in atmosphere at their hotel as the start of the tournament drew near. Nearly all of the hotel's patrons were here for the event. Besides participants from East Sea City, there were also numerous people from other places, all preparing hastily. When he returned to his room, Tang Wulin was greeted by Shishi's tremendous snoring. The culprit already sound asleep. Starfished on the bed, he barely resembled a human. Tang Wulin descended on his own mattress. Instead of pulling at the coattails of slumber, he sat cross-legged and peered out the window. His gaze wandered past the sharp edges of the deep blue sea, zigzagging across the surface to no end. The rush and ebb of the tide granted him a peace of mind. He shut his eyes slowly and began meditating. Just as the clumsy bird flies early to the forest, he could not squander any opportunity to cultivate. Blacksmithing, on the other hand, was not a problem. As Ken Yue had informed him, finding anyone who could surpass his craft at his age was like searching for a needle in a haystack. Although he would be advancing through the competition with Muzai, Tang Wulin understood that when the final rounds approached he would need to carefully make a decision. If Muzai seemed to have a shot at becoming the champion, then he would yield the spot to her. However, in the event that Muzai could not proceed, he would remove his handicap, aiming for victory instead. As for the Soul Masters competition, he could not shake off his nervousness. Despite being considered pretty formidable among his peers, he would be facing Soul Masters several years older than him in the Sky Sea Alliance tournament. The difference in cultivation from a single year was tremendous. He could only imagine what a gap of 5 years would be like. While wielding 3 rings, Muzai only hoped to place in the top 8. He possessed 1 ring and his teammates held 2 at most. Just how far could he hope to go? At the very least, we can't lose in the knockout phase. That would be too depressing for both us and Teacher Wu. I've got to do my best. Struggle to the very end. Tang Wulin dispelled such distracting thoughts. Regardless of what happens, I'll persevere. The opening ceremony of the Sky Sea Alliance tournament was held in Sky Sea Stadium. It was the largest stadium in the Sky Sea Alliance, boasting a maximum seating capacity of 80,000 people. For the economic bloc that was East Sea Alliance, the Sky Sea Alliance tournament was a grand occasion that the entire federation paid attention to. Outstanding geniuses would emerge each time the tournament was held. In reality, the Sky Sea Alliance tournament's original goal was to filter through the masses for geniuses to raise. Then they would be groomed into pillars of the alliance. Within the federation existed a myriad of factions, with the Sky Sea Alliance being one of the greater ones. Economic-wise, though, it stood as one of the federation's major players. In spite of its economic power, the Sky Sea Alliance was not satisfied. Although it was easy to jumpstart the economy, building a sturdy foundation was a different story. Not to mention, they had started developing later than other regions. The continent's mainland was filled with major cities, each possessing thousands to tens of thousands of years of history. These cities were littered with countless ancient clans that raised powerful geniuses with profound backgrounds. Due to its difference in history, the Sky Sea Alliance was woefully deficient in talents. In fact, the quality and quantity of its geniuses were beginning to decline. All of the powerful experts were found inland, only able to boast of its economic might. The Sky Sea Alliance could not be considered powerful by any means and hovered around the continent's middle levels of prominence. But how could the Sky Sea Alliance resign itself to losing power and prestige? In a bid to select and grow talents, the alliance established the Sky Sea Alliance tournament roughly 200 years ago. They offered not only a generous amount of prize money but some unique prizes as well. This way, the talents would receive the support needed to further pursue their paths, which would bolster the alliance's strength. At the crack of dawn, representatives from the various cities flooded into the stadium. The arena was gigantic, hordes of people teeming within as far as the eye could see. The terrace had long since been filled with spectators. It was Tang Wulin's first time in such a grand stadium. Excitement permeated the air as the opening ceremony proceeded. Surrounded by so many taller people, Tang Wulin could hardly see what was happening. He could only hear a few encouraging words that marked the end of the ceremony. Next came the drawing of lots for the various competitions. This matter was handled by the teachers, leaving class 0 twiddling their thumbs. The stadium erupted with joy as a platform was rapidly built in the center. What are they doing? Tang Wulin asked Shishi. Shishi answered, right, you wouldn't know about this. They're about to hold an exhibition match. I heard they paid an enormous sum to invite some powerful people from Shrek Academy this time. Their opponents will be the champions of the 7-man team competition from the last tournament. The alliance is doing this to show everyone the gap between our strengths. Though, I'm not sure if this is the best decision. Dou Yue cut him from the side. Why do you think so? Shishi simply shrugged. Isn't it obvious? Within a certain range, the gap in strength can be encouraging, but once the gap surpasses a certain level, it transforms into a chasm. It'll be an insurmountable reminder that only discourages people. A giggle escaped from Xu Shaoan's lips. You sure know how to explain things. You're just a child and you've already thought it out. Don't you think the alliance's higher-ups would have come to the same conclusion? I bet they have some plan in place on how to handle this. I'm starving. Does anyone have anything to eat? A voice sounded out suddenly. Tang Wulin turned toward the source of the noise and saw a little fatty scurrying about the crowd, asking random strangers for food as they passed by. Huh. Another glutton has appeared. Xu Shaoan absent-mindedly said. Shishi coughed. Shaoan, you really have a way with words. Xu Shaoan realized her indiscretion. She hastily pursed her cherry red lips and stuck out her tongue. Tang Wulin didn't mind the quip since there was no denying he was a glutton. He walked toward the little fatty. Here, eat this. Tang Wulin handed him some dried fish. Due to his high energy consumption, Tang Wulin always carried some snacks on him like dried fish, beef jerky and other portable foods loaded in protein and calories. Thank you, thank you. The little fatty's eyes lit up at the sight of the snack. He immediately began devouring it while nodding in satisfaction. Seeing the little fatty eating so happily, Tang Wulin couldn't help but feel a similar urge overtake his body. Unable to fight it, he started nibbling on some fish too. It's pretty tasty. There isn't any dried fish as good as this where I'm from. Thank you, big brother. The little fatty looked around Tang Wulin's age and had a way with flattery. You don't need to call me big brother. My name is Tang Wulin. You might even be a bit older than me. How old are you? Tang Wulin asked. The little fatty said, I just turned 10. How much older than me are you? There's no way you're younger, right? He stood half a head shorter than Tang Wulin. Chapter 197, The Students of Shrek. Tang Wulin smiled. Then I should be about half a year older than you. What's your name? The little fatty said. My name is Shu Lizzie, but everyone just calls me Little Glutton. You can call me by that nickname too. A bitter laugh escaped from Tang Wulin's lips. We still don't know for sure who's the real glutton between the two of us, so I'll just call you by your name. Are you here to participate in the competition too? Shu Lizzie nodded. Yeah, that's right. It's really nice here. This is my first time seeing the sea, so I'm planning on going for a swim later. Can you tell me what sorts of delicious seafood there are? He really is a glutton. Activating his storage ring, Tang Wulin retrieved another piece of dried fish for him. There are tons of delicious seafood here like briny sea urchins, tasty sea cucumbers, and the bluefin tuna is pretty good too. Oh right, there are also eels that taste as sweet as honey. If you want crab, try the gold hair crab. It beats the king crab at taste by a long shot. Even the meat is more tender. If you want lobster though, I still feel that our East Sea City's East Sea lobster is the best. It might be a bit pricey, but the meat is simply delicious. The Sky Sea lobster has firmer meat, but its nutritional value is quite lacking. Not to mention, it's a pain in the butt to chew. Tang Wulin explained effortlessly like a food connoisseur. Shu Lizzie's eyes grew brighter as he listened to Tang Wulin's summary, swallowing down a gulp of saliva. Great. This is great. So, after the competition is finished, do you mind showing me around? I'm already itching to try them all. Tang Wulin said helplessly. It will depend on the time, but here's my communicator number. You can call me about this later. He doubted the Sky Sea Alliance tournament could have prepared a meal big enough to satisfy him and already assumed he would need to hit the streets later for some grub. Therefore, having a fellow foodie tag along was not a hassle. Just as the two finished exchanging soul communicator numbers, an icy but pleasant voice called out. Little glutton, how did you run all the way over here? All you know is how to eat. Hurry up and come back. Tang Wulin and the little glutton, Shu Lizzie, turned toward the voice. The speaker was a girl around Shu Lizzie's age, dressed in the same green exercise clothes as him. In comparison to Shu Lizzie's fat-filled form, her clean-cut silhouette brought out the best in the clothes. Her golden hair was combed up into a ponytail, accentuating her large, bright, blue eyes framed by long eyelashes. They were nearly on par with Tang Wulin's. Her skin glistened under the light, tender, and white. Although she was likely Tang Wulin's age, her face was a mask of stone compared to his, as if she were a little adult. Upon the side of her, Shu Lizzie was like a mouse facing a cat. He stood straight and said earnestly, Big sisters England, I know I made a mistake but I'm still starving. You know right? If I don't eat enough, then I won't have any strength. Let's go. As the girl was waving Shu Lizzie over, she noticed Tang Wulin nibbling on dried fish beside him. Disdain colored her words. Don't just eat anything you get from a stranger. Don't you know how many bad people there are nowadays? Shu Lizzie's chubby face twitched for a moment before he turned back to face Tang Wulin, gesturing that he would call him later. He swiftly ran off, obediently following the girl. Tang Wulin rubbed his face absent-mindedly. Do I look like a bad guy? Who was that just now? She asked as he walked over, with just one glimpse of the blonde girl. His breath had nearly been taken away. Shrugging his shoulders, Tang Wulin replied, I don't know either. I was just chatting with Shu Lizzie about food. Suddenly, an announcement was broadcasted. Today marks the start of the Spicy Alliance tournament. We have invited a team specially from Shrek Academy to exchange pointers with last year's champions. Accounting for the gap in strength, this match will be held between different age groups. The contenders are last year's Youth Division champions of the 7-man team competition and Shrek Academy's 7-man team from the Junior Division. Now, will both sides please come on stage? The Youth Division against the Junior Division. Tang Wulin's eyes shifted to stare at Shu Shaoan. Everything was going according to her predictions. Sure enough, the higher-ups of the Spicy Alliance had considered the difference in strengths and came to this conclusion. However, if the Youth Division lost to the Junior Division, what happened next shocked Tang Wulin even further. The representatives of the Spicy Alliance arrived on the platform. Since they were the winners of the previous tournament, they were now all over 20 years old and should be placed in the adult division. There were 5 men and 2 women clad in silver team uniforms, standing with confidence and valiance imbued in their hearts. Their synchronous movements illustrated their rigorous training while their eyes shined with excitement. But that wasn't what truly caught Tang Wulin by surprise. When the delegation from Shrek Academy arrived, he didn't recognize the frontmost 5 people. They all wore green sportswear and were about 14 to 15 years old. Nevertheless, behind them were 2 people he could identify. In fact, he just met them not too long ago. Isn't that the little fatty Shu Lizzie and that England girl? They were far younger than the rest of the team and immediately caught everyone's attention. Huh. Hey, it's those 2. Why are they up there on the stage? Naturally, She recognized them too. Dumbfounded, Shu Shaoan said, our ages are the same, yet the gap between us is so great. That's right. We're all just 10 years old, yet they're already fighting in an exhibition match. More importantly, they're representatives of the legendary Shrek Academy. Even the usually level-headed Tang Wulin couldn't help but admire and envy them. No wonder that England girl was so arrogant. She has the power to back it up. Just how strong are they though? They're only 10 years old, but they actually possess 3 soul rings. The 2 sides greeted each other courteously. The team of 7 from the Spicy Alliance towered over the students from Shrek Academy, a manifestation of their age gap. After all, there was more than a difference of 5 years between them. A 15-year-old boy led the Shrek Academy's team. Though his looks weren't particularly flattering, his temperament held an indescribable quality. He stood tall and astute. Simply by taking a few steps forward, he drew the attention of the whole stadium. Tang Wulin's eyes were peeled in anticipation of the match. It was 7 versus 7, the most common form of team battles. In the last 10,000 years, this formation proved to be the optimal setup for a team of soul masters. The 2 groups on stage were the cream of the crop from 2 different generations, especially the youngsters from Shrek Academy. It was a mystery to all just how powerful they were. Unwittingly, Tang Wulin already began comparing himself to them. For those with ambitions, it was important to set a high goal. Both teams gave simple self-introductions, revealing the arrogant little girl's name. It was Yi England, a good name. An old man served as the referee. With his profound air, after a single glance anyone would know his strength was not shallow. Now, let the match begin. The stage wasn't particularly large, spanning less area than Class Zero's arena. There hadn't been enough time to build a grander one, and as such it was only 50 meters in diameter, occupied by only 14 people. The area didn't seem too crowded. Even so, there wasn't much space to maneuver. Right as the referee announced the start of the match, Shrek Academy broke into action. Surprisingly, the first to make his move was Shu Lizzie. With a wave of his arm, 2 yellow soul rings appeared under him. Mysterious objects flew out of his hands as his first soul ring lit up. Because he was so far from the arena, Tang Wulin couldn't see what were thrown. Yet for some reason, he thought they resembled steamed buns. Shu Lizzie's 6 teammates each consumed one of the objects. The female teammate beside Yi England brought us 3 soul rings materialized beneath her feet. 2 were yellow and 1 was purple, the optimal soul ring configuration. Light coalesced in her right hand to form a 7-tiered pagoda. As the first 3 levels of the pagoda sparkled brilliantly, its glow enveloped the stoic youth spearheading their formation. The youth released a draconic roar as his body swelled. His arms especially grew thick and solid. 4 rings rose from beneath him, 2 yellow, 1 purple, and 1 black. Shockingly, he had a 10,000-year soul ring. Tang Wulin grew feverish as an unknown feeling welled up inside of him. It continued to expand as thunder shook the arena. Few in the audience saw the whole process clearly. What they did see, however, was cyanide exploding on stage, followed by a baptism of lightning and thunder. Chapter 198, Drawing Lots. Although Tang Wulin activated the purple demon eyes in a moment's haste, he still could not penetrate the forest of azure and bolts of violet lightning zipping through the stage with his sight. The purple demon eyes only magnified the details of each chaotic lightning strike. At that moment, Tang Wulin noticed that 3 of the Spicy Alliance team's members had 4 rings while the rest wielded 3. He was able to discern the ring compositions of the 3 soul masters, 2 yellow and 2 purple each. However, he failed to make out the individual spirit souls. At that moment, they were engulfed by the tempest of electric bolts and thunder. I can't see anything in this match. The rumbling storm didn't let up. Instead, it grew more potent. Tang Wulin could see the silhouette of a lightning dragon wreaking havoc within the electric blitz. He saw the dragon and after. There was no after. A minute later, the match ended. The 7 representatives of the Spicy Alliance collapsed on the stage while the delegation from Shrek Academy stood rooted in their previous formation. Shu Lizzie and Yi England were stationed in the back. The young girl didn't attack the entire battle, and the little fatty was just stuffing his face with the dried fish snack. Complimentary of Tang Wulin, silence dominated the stands. For a single moment, not a single peep sounded from the audience of 80,000 people. After bending over in a slight bow, the leader of Shrek Academy's team led his teammates off the stage. How could a battle between generations last no more than a minute? It was simply a massacre. The Spicy Alliance team didn't even have a chance to display their strength. The Shrek team's assault had been swift like an eagle, arriving instantly like a howling gale. It was as if a sleeping dragon awakened to swallow its foes in the blink of an eye. Tang Wulin heard a gulp beside him. He turned to see Shi wide-eyed and gaping, mouth opened as if attempting to catch a fly. This is the strength of Shrek Academy? Are they even human? A gentle sigh escaped from Tang Wulin's lips. They look human. Our gap in soul rings isn't that large, yet their coordination and explosive power are truly terrifying. No wonder teacher will always stresses the importance of teamwork. These guys are just too strong. Their teamwork doesn't seem like much on the surface, but their strengths are multiplied by supporting one another. If it wasn't so, then there's no way their leader could have single-handedly defeated the opposing 7-man team. Even if you were that much stronger, they must have a secret to their strength. I don't think they only spirit souls. They must possess pure soul rings too. They've probably hunted real soul beasts, and maybe even have a soul bone. Shu Shaoan said with a grave expression. Within Class Zero, she and Shishi were the most knowledgeable about such matters by far. That's all they are. Yu Yue's indifferent tone startled Tang Wulin, and when he faced her, he was met with arrogant eyes. That's all they are? Then what does she consider powerful? We'll definitely be stronger than them once we reach their age. Yu Yue's tone left no room for doubt. Surpassing them doesn't count as anything. An icy voice washed over them like chilling a tide, drawing their attention. Unknown to them, Wu Zhangkong had appeared beside the group. They were merely Shrek Academy's outer court students. Wu Zhangkong said, his voice dropping the surrounding temperature by several degrees. Outer court. Everyone knew that Shrek Academy had both an inner and outer court. Only the inner court nurtured the academy's true elites. This time, even Gu Yue was shocked. Wu Zhangkong continued, the outer court's brightest and most capable students are still required to pass an inspection in order to enter the inner court. Matriculating inner court disciples must be 16 years old or younger. Therefore, none of those on that Shrek Academy team should be inner court disciples. The ones you should all take note of are the 2 youngest contenders. Since they were set to represent Shrek Academy at such a young age, their talent surpasses that of common men without a doubt. They have likely already been selected as inner court candidates. As such, they will also be your greatest rivals. Wu Zhangkong words shook the hearts of his students. Our greatest rivals? What does that mean? Teacher Wu, why would we compete with them? Shu Shaoan was flabbergasted. Wu Zhangkong glanced at her. That's because I'm training you all to enter Shrek Academy's inner court and fulfill my unfulfilled desire. Tang Wulin said, Teacher Wu, are you saying you couldn't join the inner court? Bitterness tugged at the corners of Wu Zhangkong's mouth. I entered, but I never graduated. Long Bing. Tang Wuling suddenly recalled this name. Could Teacher Wu's failure to graduate from the inner court be because of that person? These matters are too far in the future for you to worry about. Just do your best for now. Entering Shrek Academy will be a long and arduous road. I've drawn the lots. The matches begin tomorrow. Wu Zhangkong didn't bother informing them of their opponents. For both the individual and team competition, the first round would be a knockout battle. Anyone who loses would be immediately eliminated from the competition. 2 events would be conducted the next day. One of them was the blacksmiths, which would also have a knockout round. As such, Tang Wuling would be participating in a total of 3 competitions. His eyes landed on the time of each competition. Thankfully, they didn't overlap. Otherwise, he really would be stuck between a rock and a hard place. His eyes landed on the time of each competition. Thankfully, they didn't overlap. Otherwise, he really would be stuck between a rock and a hard place. Due to the low number of participants and minimal space requirement, the blacksmiths event would be the opening act. As for the individual and team battles, they would occur across the 8 arenas prepared by the Spicy Alliance tournament. For the individual event, Tang Wuling was assigned to the Spicy Stadium, a short trek away from the blacksmiths competition. Luck seemed to be smiling down on him. The team competition was also conducted in the stadium, but in the afternoon. Since the blacksmiths would compete in the morning, Tang Wuling should make the individual event by the skin of his teeth. Wu Zhangkong offered his students neither helpful analyzers nor advice. Instead, he simply told them to return to the hotel later to prepare. As for him, he would be going ahead. Teacher Wu is such an irresponsible man. She muttered. Gu Yue looked at him. Do you dare say that to his face? Xu Shaoan was even more direct. I'm telling on you to Teacher Wu. She said in indignance. What have I done to provoke you too? Am I your mortal enemy? Xu Shaoan giggled. Who told you to grow up not as handsome as Teacher Wu and Tang Wuling? This big bro is handsome. People will understand in the future. You just can't yet comprehend how dashing I am. Disdain tinged Xu Shi's words. Let's go back. I think the reason Teacher Wu didn't give us any advice is because it would be pointless. Since that's the case, we'll only have ourselves to rely on. We have the individual competitions tomorrow morning. Let's all do our best. We'll formulate some tactics when it comes time for the team matches. Chapter 199. Eating together. Tang Wuling had pretty much hit the nail right on the head in regards to Wu Zhangkong's line of thought. Practical combat experience at their age was more beneficial to their growth than anything else. The battles in the Spirit Ascension platform and spars with their teacher were engraved into their very being. Such experiences culminated into growth. So what if our opponent is strong? Today, the Spicy Alliance's team clearly had the edge in soul rings, yet they still lost in under a minute. So what if they're older and have better soul rings? All that matters is how much strength we're able to display and if we can grasp victory. Tang Wuling was convinced that no matter how formidable their opponent was, as long as they brought out their full power, then even Wu Zhangkong couldn't say anything should they lose. The city bustled with activity now that the Spicy Alliance tournament was in full swing. Tournaments attracted people, so visitors from all over the East Coast had traveled to Spicy City. The city came to life once night fell. People swarmed to restaurants, delighting in delicacies and fine liquor. Did you sneak out? Tang Wuling asked Xu Lizzie. The little fatty was sitting beside him, gorging himself on food. Xu Lizzie had invited him out to eat in the afternoon. Tang Wuling was happy to agree of course, but when they met, he saw that Xu Lizzie had disguised himself. He had clearly snuck out. This tofu fish is really good. It's delicate and soft, yet so fragrant, so delicious. Tang Wuling, you really know how to eat. The little fatty Xu Lizzie exclaimed as he stuffed himself. Although Tang Wuling wasn't a resident of Spicy City, there wasn't much of a difference between Spicy City and Easty City seafood. Furthermore, he had spent his entire life on the coast, so how could he not know what was tasty? Hey, why aren't you eating? Xu Lizzie asked. Tang Wuling smiled. There would be nothing left for you if I eat. What he didn't mention was how expensive this food was. Eating would bring him both joy and suffering in this case. Treating Xu Lizzie to a meal was enough. Xu Lizzie said, come on, eat. It's more fun to eat together. You lead the way and I'll pay. You're not a resident of Spicy City anyway, so you don't have to host me, alright? Tang Wuling burst into laughter. You really want me to eat? Are you sure you want to treat me? Let me tell you, I've got quite the stomach. Xu Lizzie waved a hand dismissively as if swatting a fly. It's just a bit of money to eat. Come on, let's feast. We'll deal with it after we're full. Alright, boss, I want to order 1 salt-crusted baked bluefin tuna. Tang Wuling immediately called out. Hesitating, the boss asked, do you have more guests coming? Tang Wuling shook his head. The boss said, do you know how big a bluefin tuna is? Tang Wuling said, of course. It should be at least 50 kilograms, so you should start preparing it now since it will take a long time to bake. Right, I also want 50 roast sea urchins, 2 baked fish heads and... Tang Wuling continued listing dishes. Xu Lizzie didn't mind and instead applauded him. Soon, the entire restaurant was swept up by their pace. Despite lagging behind Tang Wuling, Xu Lizzie could keep eating without pause, showcasing his frightening endurance. They were children after all. When they saw one another going at it, they couldn't help but compete. As the dishes piled up on the table, the two increased their tempo, cheeks trembling as they chewed and swallowed. The legend of the gluttonous Tang Wuling had been confined to Easty City, but today it debuted in Spicy City. A short while later, shells and dishes piled up like a mountain across 2 tables. You really know how to eat. This is the first time I've met someone who could compete with me in terms of eating. Stuffing myself has never been so cool. Xu Lizzie exclaimed in admiration and flashed Tang Wuling a big thumbs up. Tang Wuling laughed mischievously. This is also my first time meeting someone who can eat as much as I do. This seafood is really filling and high in protein. Here, try some. This roast sea urchin is delicious. Not only is the meat fragrant, it's also filled with flavor. If you let it sit for 2 hours, the flavor completely transforms. That's why you can't say you've tasted its true deliciousness until you've visited a coastal city. Wow. It really is delicious. Xu Lizzie gradually found it harder and harder to continue devouring food. His belly swelled until it was a perfect sphere and all he could do was lean back against his chair, gaping at Tang Wuling. Tang Wuling's pace didn't slow at all even now, and his stomach was still as flat as always. It was almost as if he were a starved man seeing food for the first time. I can't continue. You're amazing, I concede. Since you can eat so much, I'll call you Big Bro from now on. Xu Lizzie patted his stomach as he panted, his face a picture of contentment and respect. Aha. So you're here. At that moment, a familiar voice cut through their sweet atmosphere like a knife. Without pausing from feasting, Tang Wuling turned toward the voice to see a furious Yizengland barging her way in. She headed straight for Xu Lizzie. Don't hit me, big sister Zingland. I know I was wrong, but I ate really well. Please don't hit me. I've eaten so much so that if you do, I might puke it all out. Wouldn't that be a waste? This is really delicious. Do you want to join us? Yizengland's mood lightened at his words. This guy is such a glutton. But when she shifted her gaze to their table, she nearly jumped up from fright. Did a whole army come to eat? Plates, bowls and debris from all sorts of food were scattered across 2 round tables. Seated across from Xu Lizzie, Tang Wuling continued to pull apart a crab's leg with expert movements. After biting both sides, he broke open the shell, squeezed out the white crab meat and slurped it up without leaving a single scrap. Seeing him eat so merrily, Yizengland couldn't help but feel a bit hungry herself. Are you the one who seduced him to come out? Yizengland's brows shut up as she recalled their meeting earlier today. She had taken note of him due to his good looks and large, warm eyes. The fact that he invited Xu Lizzie out, however, seemed suspicious to reek of taking advantage of their Shrek Academy affiliation to her. You want to join us? Tang Wuling ignored her accusation. At that moment, the boss called out, here's the salt-baked bluefin tuna. As Yizengland turned around and saw the fish, her eyes went wide. That's just too big. Just how massive was a fish that weighed over 50 kilograms? It was 1 meter in length, thick and solid. The sizable crust of sea salt on its surface was like a mountain's peak. Due to its size, the fish was delivered to the table by trolley. The boss was convinced now, these 2 gluttons really could devour an entire bluefin tuna. The mountain of plates was a testament to that. Laughing heartily, the boss said, just wait a moment, I'll get a hammer to smash it open for you. My salt-crusted baked bluefin tuna is definitely one of the best dishes in Spicy City. Tang Wuling smiled. You don't need to trouble yourself. I can do it. He made his way to the bluefin tuna. To ensure that the inner meat stayed tender and juicy, it was protected by a thick coating of salt. Furthermore, because the bluefin tuna was bulky, it needed at least a centimeter of coating. Any thinner and the taste would suffer, no matter how much shorter the cooking time would be. By now, dusk had already swept through the skies. With such a thick layer of salt, even an adult needed a hammer to crack it open. But to Tang Wuling, this was nothing. His heavy silver hammer materialized in his hands in a flash of light, and he swung at the salt crust. A bell thump echoed throughout the room. Following that, a crack snaked its way along the crust. After 2 successive swings of the hammer, it split open all the way. Tang Wuling put away his hammer and brushed the salt off with his hands, revealing tender white meat beneath. A heavy fragrance immediately burst out, flooding his nostrils. This prompted Shu Lizzie to shoot up from his seat, staring at the bluefin tuna with the intent to swallow it whole. Why you? Why didn't you tell me about this sooner? What do I do? I'm too full right now. And no. I can't let things end like this. I'm going to go exercise for a bit. Don't you dare finish it without me. I'll be back in a few minutes. The little fatty lurched outside. Tang Wuling casually retrieved a clean plate and used his knife to carve a large chunk of meat for himself. Just as he was about to sit down and eat, he remembered the girl in front of him. Accustomed to caring for Naya in his childhood, he took another plate and handed it to her. Why don't you have some? In truth, Yizinglin had already succumbed to shock after taking in the size of the bluefin tuna. This was her first time seeing such a giant fish. Not to mention, it was served with expert cooking techniques. Although she was stronger and had a steadier temperament than her peers, she was still a 10-year-old child. Yizinglin couldn't help but be enticed by such a delicacy. Okay. She didn't hesitate to accept the plate. She grabbed a clean fork from the side, sat herself in Shu Lizzie's seat and began eating. Chapter 200, paying the bill. Tang Wuling grinned as he approached the tuna's head and pulled apart the salt crust, and revealing its delicate meat underneath. He slid a knife between the cheekbones and cut out a chunk of meat the size of his palm with one swift circular motion before placing it on a second plate. He offered the plate to Yizinglin. Try this. It's the best part of the fish. Bluefin tuna has a lot of collagen because it swims in the deep sea, and this section is packed full of it. The collagen, when combined with its tender flesh, bursts with flavor on the tongue. Once he handed the plate to her, he grabbed his own and carved out another piece for himself. He sat down with a grin and continued to eat. Such carefree indulgence brought forward a splendid feeling. It's really good. Yizinglin thought to herself as she savored the supple meat. She sent a furtive glance toward Tang Wuling. There's no way this guy can be this nice. He must be hiding something. I need to be careful of him. This fish is so delicious though. I'll finish eating first before dealing with him. The two continued to gorge themselves. The only dissatisfaction Yizinglin harbored was that Tang Wuling had never raised his head once to look at her. He was too preoccupied eating. She had thought that Shu Lizzie was the pinnacle of gluttony, but today Tang Wuling had proven she was wrong. Tang Wuling thoroughly surpassed Shu Lizzie in this regard. She found it truly frightening. Heaps and heaps of meat entered his stomach like factory products traveling on a conveyor belt. Yet his pace never faltered. It even seemed to accelerate. Yizinglin mulled things over as she chewed and swallowed. This guy really is an unrivaled glutton. Well, I admit that the fish is delicious. The sea salt complemented the meat's savoriness, preserving the juiciness and creating an umami-filled adventure. Her plate had the most delicious divot, courtesy of Tang Wuling. The fragrant collagen and the tuna's soft flesh would forever be engraved in her memory, standing out as her most spectacular food experience. Half of the tuna had been consumed by the time Shu Lizzie returned. He howled at the sight before promptly diving in to join the glutton forces. In the midst of the excitement, Tang Wuling set aside a finger-licking morsel for the other boy. The moment Shu Lizzie dug into the piece of tuna cheek, his face went slack with contentment. It was as if he had transcended to a higher realm. A while later, the restaurant's boss stood stupefied as he stared at the trio with his mouth agape. 3 kids had actually succeeded in devouring a 50-kilogram fish. Yizinglin's cold haughtiness cracked open like a shell, revealing a demeanor irreconcilable with the initial impression of her. She leaned back into her chair. This was the first time in her life that she had felt so full. If she moved another inch, her belly would burst. Hey, what's your name? Yizinglin asked Tang Wuling. Tang Wuling. Despite eating the most, Tang Wuling was still as calm as ever. He may have ingested more protein than usual during this meal, but the sheer amount of food he ate didn't stray too far from the norm. How are you able to eat so much? Don't you feel bloated at all? Yizinglin asked in disbelief. Tang Wuling beamed. Let me tell you guys a secret. Actually, I have a dragon in my stomach, and it's the one eating all this food. His half-truths left Shu Lizzie and Yizinglin in a daze. A dragon in your stomach? How did it get there? Shu Lizzie asked. Tang Wuling shrugged his shoulders. I don't know. I was born with it. This is the reason why I can eat so much. By the way, your match today was so awesome. By the time I blinked, you guys had won. A look of pride crossed Shu Lizzie's face. Of course. We're Shrek after all. We've always been peerless. Those words seemed to trigger Yizinglin's alertness. She kicked the little fatty's leg under the table before craning her neck toward Tang Wuling. We're leaving now. You settle the bill. I've already said I'm hosting. Shu Lizzie was a man of his words. Yizinglin scowled at him. Do you have money? Shu Lizzie was at a loss for words. How did I forget about that? Tang Wuling was speechless. Can't you be more reliable? If I had known this earlier, I wouldn't have eaten so much. What kind of expression is that? Yizinglin said as she glared at Tang Wuling's stiffened face. You should know, it's an honor to treat us to dinner. After a moment of incredulity, Tang Wuling nodded his head. Yeah. It really is an honor. You guys sit down first. I'll go settle the bill. Saying so, he stood up and walked away. Since they were sitting in a lounge, he had to turn and make a beeline for the front desk. Once he was out of sight, Yizinglin smacked the top of Shu Lizzie's head. Why did you sneak out? Let's see how I'll deal with you once we get back. Shu Lizzie pulled an indignant face. Big sister Zinglin, I made a mistake. But didn't you eat happily, too? Everything's fine if you had a good time. What are you hitting me for? Yizinglin snorted. We're from Shrek. Just how many people do you think are scheming about us? I don't think that Tang Wuling is any good. I bet he approached us with ulterior motives. After a few blinks, Shu Lizzie retorted no way. When we first met, he gave me some dried fish to eat. That was before he knew which academy I'm from. The corners of Yizinglin's mouth began to twitch. How are you so sure about that? I bet the Spicy Alliance has been watching you and making plans on how to approach you. If you don't believe me, then just wait. Once he comes back, he'll definitely think of some way to get closer to us. Shu Lizzie faced the direction Tang Wuling had departed. Huh? Shouldn't he be back by now? Disdain dripped from Yizinglin's words. He probably went to the washroom after eating so much. Oh. After another quarter of an hour, Tang Wuling still hadn't returned. He sure is taking a long time in the washroom. He ate a lot, so a lot comes out. Shu Lizzie mumbled. Go look for him. Yi Xinglan ordered Shu Lizzie, the beginnings of a storm rumbling in her chest. The reason she had been so forceful in having him pay was that she didn't have any money either. Since they were here to represent Shrek, she hadn't brought any cash. It wasn't long before Shu Lizzie dragged his chubby self back. I can't find him. Big sister Xinglan, I think he left. I bet it's because you were so rude to him. He probably dipped after paying the bill. See? I told you he wasn't trying to get close to us. Yi Xinglan said, this is the so-called capturing by letting loose. You know, let's go then. She got up with Shu Lizzie and set off. Hey, you two children, hold up. Aren't you going to pay the bill? The boss came over and stopped the two. On his trip back to the hotel, Tang Wuling couldn't help but feel invigorated as the cool sea breeze brushed against his face. As for the bill? He wouldn't have acted that way had Shu Lizzie not promised to pay. It was a pricey meal after all. He didn't believe that students from Shrek Academy students would be short on money. What really put him in a bad mood, however, was how Yi Xinglan tried to take advantage of him and how cheaply she treated him. She acted as if having a meal with me was charity work. Since that's how she views it, then she can pay the bill herself. I'll save myself some money. The thought of her made him roll his eyes. For this reason, Tang Wuling didn't hesitate to leave immediately. Why should I kiss the asses of those Shrek Academy students if they look down on me? If they don't want to be friends, then I'll just keep my distance. Naturally, Tang Wuling had his own bottom line and paid his share of the bill, 1/3. He was really self-indulgent today, so he began meditating as soon as he returned to the hotel. Of course, he didn't forget to block Shu Lizzie's number from his soul communicator. He didn't want any trouble. He'll pretend that he had never met them. In reality, and unknown to Tang Wuling, Yi Xinglan's arrogant eyes had aroused his own pride. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.